And now I'd like to leave you with these 4 questions called questions to ponder. These questions were valuable for me, and I want to make them valuable for you. Here's the first one: why? We all ask why we should work this hard. Why take that many classes? Why go to school that many years? You know, why take the notes? Why read the books? Why work that hard? Why put yourself through the push-ups and the disciplines? Why? Good question, why? Best answer to why, I think, is the second question. Why not? Why not see how many books you can read, how many classes you can take, how many skills you can develop? Why not see how valuable you can become to the marketplace and to your friends and to your family? Why not see what you can make of yourself? Why not see how far you can go, how much you can see, how much you can earn, how much you can share? Why not? That's the heritage all of us have, in America especially, is to see what we can make out of our lives now that we've been given this extraordinary opportunity. Now, my third question I'd love to ask you in person. But since I can't do it in person, I want to ask it of all of you. But I want you to take it personally. And my third question is, why not you? Why not you with good self-esteem? Why not you starting to change and setting goals? Why not you starting to make progress toward financial independence? If I can do it, you can do it. I wished I had a lot more testimonials here today besides mine, a whole steady stream that would come by and tell you their story. Someone who started with nothing, finally run a big enterprise. A mother who was on welfare, now she owns her own business. In addition to my story, I wish I had a lot more. And if all of them told their story, guess how they would probably wind up their story? They'd probably say, just like me, why not you? If we can read, you can read. If we can change, you can change. If we can figure it out, you can figure it out. If we can turn it around, you can turn it around. There isn't anything you can't accomplish. That's what those testimonials would say. And so I want to say it to you personally. Why not you? You've got the brains. You've got the stamina. You've got the vitality. You've got the interest. You've got your life ahead of you. You've got the future. You can do it. If anybody can do it, you can do it. If one of us can do it, hey, we all can do it. And now here's my last question. Why not now? This is a good time. As the 20th century starts to wind down, a few more years as we get ready for century 21, what a good time to set your goals, work on yourself, work on your skills. What a good time to get it together. What a good time to start this process. Personal development, growing, changing, developing, having a good plan for your money and for your life and for your future. Why not now? And I hope I have a chance to see you one of these days and share with you the experience, the reaction, the response you might have had from my message today. And until I get a chance to see you on this side of the world or the other side of the world, in some school or some seminar, or maybe I'll come and speak for a company that you work for someday. I hope I get a chance to meet you. Until then, I wish you the best. I want all that I've gotten to be yours and much, much more. God bless. Goodbye.
Hey guys, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, I've got a video here for you today that I think you'll really enjoy. I am, for the last, I guess, 9 months or so since the economy took its giant collapse all over the world in different areas financially, I've been meeting people that are trying to figure out what to do financially. And I've watched so many people in business who are trying to figure out what to do. Their customers are responding in a different way. They're hanging on to their money and they're concerned. And so I thought, you know, the traditional approaches to business are not making a difference. So whether you're looking for an opportunity to figure out how to have a second income stream, or you have some form of business you're considering being in or you're in and you want to learn some tools, these guys called me up and said, can we come by? I'd love to chat with you. And I said, well, we're going to chat. Let's put it on film. So we just knocked around, and what they wanted to ask me was, look, you know, we spent enough time with you. We know you know how to get people to take action. I said, well, come on over and let me kind of get inside your heads a little bit. Let me see why you follow through. Why do so many people say they're going to do something and then never follow through? And a few people do something inside their head and heart that gets them to follow through. But there is an answer, because there are people that do follow through. And there are people that never did before, and then they've never followed through in their life, and now finally they break through. And that's what I try to focus on, is what those people do. So what do these people need to get started? Why aren't they starting? We all know the answer is fear. But the difference with you guys or me or anybody who's followed through is we're more afraid of what life would be like if we don't follow through than the person who's willing to settle for what they got and kind of hope it'll change and maybe purchase something for the moment and then not follow through on it. It's almost like people, overachievers, have a little more fear. They're a little more afraid of missing out. They're afraid of not being there, or they got a strong enough reason to follow through. So I'd say if you're looking at home, you want to give somebody some value, go, where do I start? I'm sick of this. That's a damn good place. That's probably why they bought the product in the first place, but now they're not.
Escape from that for just a minute.
What's that?
They bought the product to escape from that state.
Just for a moment.
Yeah.
So, because guess what? What makes people excited is progress. You don't have to be at the goal yet to feel alive again. You have to make progress. And the first step to progress is making a decision and buying the product. But then they don't do the second step, which is open the damn thing up.
I think another powerful distinction that you're hitting on here is the fact that a lot of people that have breakthroughs in their lives, like including Frank and I both in different, success stories, situations, whatever you want to call them, is that, people typically hit rock bottom before that must is a reality.
You're right.
So in thinking of that, because a lot of things as well, like we hear in marketing, like if you had a gun to your head right now and you had to make money in the next, 48 hours, what would you do? And that really resonates with people. But so I just wanted to bring this into the conversation because I think a big part of the market of all these people aren't people that have their backs completely against the wall yet.
That's right.
Okay, so they're not in a must situation yet. They're in a desire situation where they're okay in their lives. They do have big dreams and ambitions. They do want greater things. But it's not pushing them yet to the point where they will do what it takes
to master
have the
something.
Must. So what do you think? How do people go from not having their backs against the wall when they have no choice to say, I'm totally sick of this, to conditioning their minds to go from their situation where they are, which may be okay, to getting something greater?
Well, think about this. What pisses you off and what excites you is all relative. $300 a week, $2,500 excites him more, that memory to this day, than even the $1 million, he did in his first 24-hour version, right? Or you breaking the 4-minute mile, $1 million, that must have been out of your mind. Tell me about that for a second. What did that feel like? You make $1 million in 24 hours, nobody in history of the internet's done it.
Euphoria. It was unbelievable.
What was
It wasn't even about the money.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It wasn't really about the money.
No, it wasn't.
I wasn't thinking like, that's how many cars I can buy.
No.
It just wasn't. It was just breaking through like another barrier of progress.
So at that point, it wasn't about your back to your wall. At that point, what it was really about...
It was a further point for my fear, is what it really was.
Further point for your fear, and for some people, and I think in some cases, it's also a recognition of who I am and what I'm capable of. So for somebody whose life is already great, this is about, what if I could take on another skill that could create more freedom for my life? And just saying, I'm not having to go out and try and do it all perfectly right now. What I'm going to do for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to create a little ritual. I'm going to do one thing a day to condition my mind, right, so that I get strong, so I follow through. I'm going to read something. I'm going to listen to something. I'm going to immerse myself. I'm going to go for an intense jog, or I'm going to go lift weights, but I'm going to do it consciously to get in a state where I'm going to follow through. That's number one, because people follow through when they're in state. Second, I'm going to get clear about why this is a must for me. It's not because my back's against the wall, but because I want to master an area of life that could create some freedom. I'm not going to master it overnight, but I got the system, I got the plan. I'm going to do one thing a day. I'm going to work on one subject a week. This week's going to be about figuring out what the right product or industry is. Next week's going to be basics of building traffic. And each week I'm going to make a little progress, and I'm going to get to a goal, whatever that is. I'm going to make $1,000, my $300 in a week. I'm going to get to my $2,500. That first $2,500 is the most excited.
Unbelievable.
The first $300. I remember
it's the most life-changing, too.
It is the most life-changing. I remember I was supposed to be a truck driver, making $24,000 a year because I'd be making the most anybody in my family had ever made.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, real well. Thank God I'm not driving a truck, right?
I think you could pull the truck.
I figured out I could pull it with my finger, man. I could do it with my teeth. I could pull it with my teeth, right? 36 grand a year was the goal. If I could make $3 grand in a month. When I did that, was out of my mind. And then it was like, could I make 10 grand a month? Then it was 10 grand in a day, then 100 grand a day. Then could I make $1 million in a day? I had a day where I made $400 million in a day. The stock value of the company I took public, my personal stock. Once you break through, then it just becomes a game. The people that are getting your products have not yet broken through in most cases. The breakthrough happens by conditioning your mind every day, by feeding it a role model or story. It's putting yourself in a peak state where you follow through by getting physically strong. It's creating a little ritual of doing a little bit each day, and then you get momentum. But the most important thing of all is what we started out with. Why?
Absolutely.
Why is it a must for you? It doesn't have to be you're against the wall, but it has to be something you're hungry for, because the only difference in people is hunger. And if you're not hungry, get around people that are hungry and something will hit you. As a man, I knew I was capable of more. So people can change their standard by getting around where it's better. People can change their standard by getting associated with what's true, like the bills they got to solve, the problems they got to do it. Or they can do it because they're excited because it's something new they want to take on. Everyone's different, but they got to find the why, and they got to come up with some daily rituals to get them going and just do a step at a time. That's where you get momentum. So, think about what's the holy grail between somebody taking action or not. It's one word, certainty. When somebody is absolutely certain, the common word is believe, right? But, you can believe at a general level or you can believe with certain. When you're absolutely certain that if I do this, it's going to get that result and that result's going to change my life, you'll do it. When you think it absolutely is not going to work, you're never going to do it. The middle no man's land of maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, that's the piece that kills people, right? So if it's a must for you, you got to make it work, right? In our case, right? That's an example. If it's not a must for you and you're not sure, you don't know what to do. So years ago, I'd look around and say, okay, how do people get themselves to follow through that haven't been following through? What's the difference? And I started interviewing hundreds of people, literally, and eventually thousands, because I had thousands of my events. So I'd ask the group to give me their feedback. And I came up with this model. It's like the holy grail of belief, or the holy grail of momentum. It's like the difference between what makes the rich get richer and the poor get poor, right? And the difference we all know is mindset, but like, how's that built? So this is what I did. I created stupid four little boxes, and I'll scribble it here for you. You think about the first thing that determines whether you can do something or not, and I put that in this first box at the top here on the left side, and it's potential. Like, what's the potential of a human being? Like, when you guys started, you proved something no one had done in history. You ran the 4-minute mile, right? For golly knows how many centuries, they're trying to run a 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister does it. How did he do it? Do you remember? You did it in this industry, right? You made $1 million in a day. No one had ever done that in history, right? After you did it, a bunch of other guys are doing it because it became possible. Roger Bannister didn't just go physically practice. He made a shift in his head. He practiced in his head because he could never achieve it physically, so he had to change in his head first so that the result became certain enough he believed it, and then his body got him through. After Roger Bannister ran that 4-minute mile, within 2 years, 37 people ran a 4-minute mile.
Wow.
When no one in history had ever done it. Now, here's how it works. The potential for anybody getting your product is extraordinary. They could do what you've done as much, more or less. They can do whatever they want to do. The potential's there. The market's proven that. Whether or not they tap into potential has a lot to do with what action they take, which is the question you came to me with, right? Like, God, they all have potential, but they're not taking action. And we all know that the action they take is going to determine the results they get. That's pretty obvious. So most people have a belief about what their real potential is no matter what you tell them. And that affects how much action they take. And of course, that affects the result. And then ironically, that result reinforces their belief. And then that belief affects it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a person has unlimited potential, we all agree. But they take little action, little results. Why? Because they have to start with a problem with their belief. They don't believe it's really going to happen for me. Maybe for Frank Kearns because he's got the cool hair and stuff, or maybe it's for you because you're so driven, but it's not me. Maybe Tony Robbins because he's a freak, got these big teeth. Whatever their thought process is, right? They got this thing, right? But what happens is, if you believe that there's very little potential, how much action are you going to take? Nothing, little. And when you take little potential with a little action, what kind of results do you get? Lousy little results. And when you get little results, what does that do to your belief? You go, see, I told you this was a waste of time, told you this wouldn't work. And then what happens? You tap even less potential. You take even less action. You get even worse results, and your belief gets even weaker. And this sucker feeds on itself until you are in a downward spiral.
It's poisonous.
It's poisonous and it's self-fulfilling. Now, what if something could happen that could come along and fill you with a sense of absolute certainty? Not like I believe, but where you know. In you guys' case, mine as well, we knew because we had to. Because we burned the boats. There was no other option. We had to find a way. We weren't going to live that way. We all did it in different ways and for different reasons, but in essence, that was it. If you get yourself in a state of certainty that this is going to work, I'm going to find a way, and if this doesn't work, I will make the way, then you tap a lot more potential. And when you're certain in your potential, you take massive action. And when you take massive action, you really believe in something, you get great results. When you get great results, your brain goes, see, I told you I was a stud. I told you this thing would work out. Now you're even stronger. You tap more potential, take greater action, greater results. That's how you went from $300 in a week to $2,500 in 5 days to $100,000 in a month to $1 million in a day. Same thing with you. And we get momentum. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now some people go out and they go, well, I'm going to take a bunch of action. All right, I'm going to open this product. I'm going to try it. And they'll say to you, I even did it. But it's like a salesman who goes and knocks on the door, and he knocks on 100 doors and says,
You don't want one of these, do you?
Yeah, exactly right. You know? And even if he doesn't say it verbally, his face says it because he doesn't believe it's going to work. So his voice, his body, the execution is so weak. Maybe if he talks to 100 people, somebody's going to buy out of pity. They don't want his kids to starve, right? But he's not going to get the result. So the core difference in people is how do you produce certainty when the world isn't giving it to you? You go out and you try. In your case, you're 100,000 in debt, and nothing's working. How do you keep yourself going? The way you did it, the way I did it, the way you're doing it, we may not have done it consciously, is we didn't change our potential. That was there. And it wasn't even taking more action. Taking more action with a belief it's not going to work, it's not going to change anything. We got results in our head that made us feel certain as if it had already happened. True or false for you?
True.
Right? So give me an example so people know I'm not just making this crap up.
Well, I mean, just like when I had nothing, I already knew I was driving like Ferraris and Porsches and stuff because I always wanted those cars. I already knew I was going to have them. It was inevitable.
Right.
I inevitably, that was just my inevitable outcome.
But how did you do that? Did you have a ritual? Did you think about it regularly? Was it one time you thought about it, or was it something you had an obsession towards?
I had an obsession towards it. I mean, I used to work at a video store, which was the last job I ever had in my life.
Thank God.
And I used to go to work almost every day, and I used to bring 2 magazines with me to read on my breaks. Entrepreneur magazine, just to read about business and everything else, and read about what other people are doing, look for role models. And I used to carry an auto trader with me. And I used to look at Porsches that were for sale.
Yeah.
And people always used to ask me, what are you doing with that Auto Trader magazine? I'm like, well, I'm just picking out the Porsche that I'm going to buy.
Right.
Which
probably got you a lot of crap.
I did. People made fun of me.
Sure.
I actually had a boss at that job tell me, you really shouldn't do that to yourself, John, because it's very, very likely that is never going to happen. That it's very likely that you're never going to have that car.
Yeah.
That's the kind of belief he was trying to put in my head. And I was like, no, you don't realize that it's inevitable that I will drive here sometime in the near future with that car when I'm not working for you and drop movies off for you to put back on the shelf.
You can buy a product, but you also, with that product, have got to condition yourself. You got to make it a must, and you got to get a ritual. And if you do it, whatever you used to dream about you thought was so huge, you'll just live it. You'll live it like you lived this yesterday, like we're all living the life that we envision. Because we had to, and because we played this game with our head. We got the belief to be real by seeing it enough times and feel it enough times till our brain believed it, and then it made it happen.
Which raised the potential, which made us take more action, which got us better results, which raised our beliefs again.
That's right. And then that's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So instead of bitching about it, change it. This process is the Holy Grail. It's where the whole game changes, and anybody can do it, and they can do it in a few minutes. And if they do it a few minutes each day, then they get a different life. They do it a few minutes one time, their life changes for the day. We're defined by our rituals. Everybody's got rituals, certain things they do every day. And what we three have in common, and anybody that I know of who has a life that they're living that was once a vision, is we saw it again and again and again, even when it didn't work, even when you lost 100 grand, even when I'm working as a janitor. There's something we would not give up on. And if somebody watching wants to change their life, they got to decide what they won't give up on and then put themselves in the state of momentum by a couple little rituals. That's all it takes.
And I think especially when it comes to anything related to making money, like making money products or promises or courses, people are so inundated with scams and all this garbage, true garbage, that their natural thinking is that they're so skeptical. Well, if anything's ever going to work, that thing has to prove it to me before I believe anything.
The problem is, to defend themselves so they won't be disappointed again, they lower their expectations. So someone will say to me, well, I'm skeptical or I'm pessimistic. And my response to them is, no, man, you're gutless. It takes no guts to be skeptical. You don't have to have any capacity to be a critic. And now with the web, you don't even have to own that you're the one being the critic. You can burn somebody and anonymously, right? I said, you know what? It takes guts to believe. And if you think something's going to do it for you without you putting your guts on the line, you might as well forget it right now. So this idea that I'm skeptical or they got to prove it to me, it's the biggest lie. What that really is your fear talking. You're so scared of failing, you don't even want to get your hopes up. And if you don't get your hopes up, you might say, well, what if they get their hopes up and somebody gets disappointed? How many disappointments have we experienced in our business careers and in our lives? The difference is some people take disappointment and let it destroy them. Other people take disappointment and let it drive them. And you get to choose. Are you going to turn this thing into why it didn't work and a bunch of stories and excuses, or are you going to take this thing that didn't work and figure out what are you going to do to make it work? And it may not happen the first time, the second time, the third time, but the people that are relentless find the way. And it's the common denominator in all these guys that are kind of our friends or family, money masters, the new money masters is they all did it with will. Nobody here inherited this stuff. Everybody figured it out. And keep figuring it out. and it's going to keep changing. And you say, you know what, 1% of 99% of the money being made is being made by 1% of the people, because only 1% of the people will condition their mind and condition their body and follow through some daily rituals. The rest will tell a story about why it didn't work, how it wasn't their fault. And you got two things in life. You got results or you got a story. When do people's lives change? In a moment. It doesn't change in 10 years. Your life may have sucked for 10 years, but there's one moment when your whole life changes, the moment you decided. You said, no more, and I'm doing it, and you kicked yourself in the ass, and you made yourself go do something, right? When you finally said, enough, no more, I quit, or let's begin, or I love you, there's a moment when somebody's life changes. And that can be gotten in a couple of days. So people watching don't have to wait until they've mastered everything. They got to get started and do what's next, and just put themselves in a state where they start making some progress. There's something inside of every human being that will make it click, that'll make it so that today is not like yesterday and tomorrow will be different forever. And that process is an emotional hook. And what I hope is people watching this stuff, maybe something in here will piss them off enough or remind them of something or say there is a plan and it isn't just luck. And if I just get my big enough why and I get a little system for conditioning myself, and if I start to feel overwhelmed, I just do one next step. And I keep learning and keep moving forward, I will get there. If we accomplish that out of this conversation, then this conversation was kick-ass and fun, not just for us, but it'll be something that we'll be really proud of a long time. Whether that happens or not really has nothing to do with us, but whether or not people take it in as real and do something with it. I hope they will.
I think a lot of
we
people
can't
will.
control.
I think they will. Thanks a lot.
I think it was awesome.